Today we are going to discuss about the topic in electrochemistry and corrosion. In this electrochemistry and corrosion, the important topic is about potentiometric titrations and what is the main principle involved in this potentiometric titration, how many types of potentiometric titrations are there, then how these are advantages compared to remaining normal titration, traditional titration method. So we are going to discuss about these topics. Potentiometric titration is a technique where redox reaction is carried. We already know potentiometer is mainly used to measure potential difference, that is nothing but EMF. When anode and cathode are connected to the potentiometer or voltmeter, it used to detect the potential difference generated between two electrodes. One is oxidation potential, second is reduction potential. This difference is measured based on this EMF. We are going to characterize, we are going to determine the concentration of unknown solution. The total process is called potentiometric titration. Here, E cell is nothing but electromotive force only, which is given by potential difference E reduction minus E oxidation potential. So this is about the main principle involved in the determination of EMF. E cathode minus E anode, otherwise E right hand side minus E left hand side, otherwise E reduction minus E oxidation. In these ways, we can represent this EMF of the cell or electromotive force of the cell. In this potentiometric titration, quantity of the given test substance is determined by measured titrant, measured addition of titrant. We are adding titrant from the burette so that it is possible to determine the quantity or concentration of unknown solution by measuring their EMF values. This process is called potentiometric titration. Potential difference between two electrodes is measured by using this device. The main principle is potentiometric titration. Potentiometric titration, the laboratory method to determine the concentration of unknown solution. So it is used to characterize this acidic solution and not use the chemical indicator. Without using chemical indicator, which is very essential in the traditional titration or volumetric method, without the use of indicator, we are going to determine accurate endpoint value so that accurate concentration determination is possible. So this is the main advantage of potentiometric titration. Not only endpoint but also used to measure pH of unknown solution. pH measurement is very important in so many applications. So these are the main advantages of potentiometric titration. Potentiometric titration is applied for this potentiometric titration is applied for the solutions, not only acid base but also remaining redox reactions and also precipitation reactions, all these. So this is about the simple representation of graph. Volume of titrant added from the burette versus EMF of the cell we are going to plot. So when this when this graph is plotted, what happens, where the sudden change in the concentration, sudden change in this values are possible, so that can be taken as the end point from this graph. Where the point of inflation is observed, that can be taken as the end point value. From this end point, we can determine its concentration. It is a very accurate and what accurate method compared to traditional uh, volumetric method. Now let us see how many types of potentiometric titrations are possible. Potentiometric titrations are broadly classified into four types. One is acid-base titration, second is redox titration, third is complexometric titration, and the fourth is about precipitation titration. Okay, so acid-base titration in the sense acid was taken in the conical flask and the titrant taken in the burette is base alkaline solution whose concentration is already known, and acid is the unknown solution we are taking. By this titration, we are going to determine the concentration of acid solution. Then second is redox titration. So reaction carried between titrant and titrate is redox reaction, nothing but oxidation and reduction simultaneously. And the change in EMF values are possible. Those EMF values are used to determine end point, that is called redox. Complexometric titration is nothing but when titrate is taken in the conical flask and titrant was filled in the burette. When these two get mixed, there is a formation of complex between titrant and titrate, so that EMF values are varied and we can determine its concentration, which comes under complexometry. Precipitation. As the solution added from the burette, so the solution present in the conical flask get precipitated. Precipitation of the titrate is possible, so that based on this reaction we are going to determine its concentration, and again EMF values are used to measure the endpoint value, hence it comes under potentiometric precipitation titration. Let us go one by one. Acid base titration. In order to perform this acid base titration, we have to pipette out 20 ml of acid solution into the conical flask, and burette is fitted to the stand, and in that burette we have to fill what standard alkali solution. Standard alkali is nothing but whose concentration is already known concentrated and known volume of alkali should be filled into the burette. Now what we have to do initially, into that beaker already we have acid solution. So what here we are taking two electrodes. One is two electrodes were taken in this potentiometric titration. One reference electrode, that reference electrode is standard calomel electrode, and the second is platinum electrode dipped into that. Along with platinum electrode, a pinch of quinhydrone powder is also added to that beaker, so that it totally becomes a quinhydrone electrode, which is the anodic compartment, and the cathode is standard calomel electrode. Both are now inserted into a beaker containing HCl solution. What happens initially? HCl is the solution whose H plus ions are responsible for the production of this EMF. Initial concentration of H plus ions are extremely high, being it is a strong electrolytic solution. It will generate large EMF value. Okay, so we have to measure its EMF value. Now, two electrodes removed from the beaker, and 1 ml of alkali solution is added from the burette. This is about the instrumentation, how we have to perform this titration process. This is the beaker. In this beaker, we are taking acid solution, and two electrodes, one dipped into this. One is pH measuring calomel electrode, quinhydrone electrode. Second is standard calomel electrode. Two electrodes were dipped into this beaker. When two electrodes were dipped, what happens? So here generation of galvanic cell is possible. Now both are connected to potentiometer. From the burette, standard alkali solution was added 1 ml each time. So when 1 ml of NaOH is added, both involved in simple acid-base reaction, salt plus water formation is possible. When salt plus water formation is possible, here there is a regular decrease in the concentration of H plus ions, so that there is a change in EMF values also observed. Similar type of titration is performed for 15 to 20 times. We have to repeat the titration for 15 to 20 times, and each time we have to measure its EMF value. Okay, so here no indicator is required, just we are taking acid and we are measuring initial EMF value without addition of NaOH. Then after measuring its EMF value, 1 ml of NaOH is added from the burette. When 1 ml NaOH is added, again we have to measure its EMF. After measuring EMF, so the similar type of titration is repeated for type of titration is repeated for 15 to 20 times. Each time we have to measure its EMF value. After getting these readings, after getting all the readings of this instrument, now we have to plot the graph. Graph is plotted by taking volume of alkali on the x-axis, EMF on the y-axis. Alkali solution was taken on the x-axis, volume EMF value was taken on the y-axis. So all the readings are measured on this graph. So that graph is represented in this way. Graph is represented in reverse S shape. This is one type of graphical representation. It is also there in our laboratory experiment. So where the sudden decrease in the EMF value is observed, nothing but point of inflation is there. That point is taken as the end point or equivalent point. And one more graph is also plotted by taking delta E by delta V. Delta E is nothing but potential difference. So difference between the potential adjacent potential values by delta V, volume difference can be taken this ratio delta E by delta V versus volume of alkali added from the burette V. So the graph is obtained in this way. So where the peak is there, maximum extent of peak is there, this peak region is considered as an equivalent point. So where we are getting this point of inflation exactly equals to this peak height. So both will give similar kind of information only, but representation is somewhat different. Here EMF versus volume of alkali is measured. Here difference between EMF by difference between volume versus volume of alkali was plotted. Here sudden drop in the EMF taken as the end point. Where the peak height is there, that point is taken as the end point. So these two are used to represent what end point value. If we know the end point value, based on this, it is possible to determine its concentration by taking the formula M1 V1 is equal to M2 V2. Okay, so M1 V1 is equal to M2 V2. Let us consider M1 V1 terms belongs to acid and M2 V2 terms belongs to alkali or base. Okay, so M2 we are going to M1 we are going to determine HCl concentration is required to calculate. Then M1 is equal to M2 V2 by V1, so that concentration of unknown solution is calculated. Volume of alkali required for the titration, which is taken from this graph. We have to substitute the value from this graph so that we will get its molarity, that is the intention of acid base titration. Now let us go with second type, that is oxidation reduction reaction, which is also called as redox reaction. In potentiometric titration, redox reaction is also measured where the equivalent point is obtained. In order to measure this redox reaction, ferrous ion solution was taken in the beaker. 20 ml of ferrous ion solution was taken. When 20 ml of ferrous ion solution is there, titrant taken filled in the burette is potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate. That potassium dichromate present in the burette, so potassium dichromate present in the burette is the oxidizing agent which used to convert ferrous into ferric. When the concentration of ferrous into ferric is changed, what happens? That is taken as the end point value. So here ferrous to ferric, that process is called oxidation, and the simultaneously potassium dichromate is converted into reduced form. Hence it is called the redox reaction. One subjected to oxidation and second subjected to reduction. That's why it is the best example for redox reaction. In this redox reaction, again based on the change in uh, oxidation state, EMF values are varied, because based on the charge also EMF values change is possible. That's the reason why for each time we have to measure its EMF value. What we have to do, ferrous ion get oxidized with strong oxidizing agents, either CaMnO4 or potassium dichromate. Potassium permanganate or potassium dichromate can be used. Ferrous ion solution. First, so this is the instrumental setup for this redox titration. We are taking ferrous ion solution in this beaker, and two electrodes were taken. One electrode is pure platinum electrode. Second is standard columel electrode was taken into this, and both are connected to potentiometer. And burette is filled with any oxidizing agent. Here they are taking cerium. We may take potassium dichromate, potassium permanganate, ceric ammonium sulfate. Any one oxidizing agent can be taken. What happens? Ferrous now converted into ferric ion by this redox reaction. So, and each time we have to measure EMF values. And this process is repeated for again 15 to 20 times. So to this ferrous ion, we have to add small amount of sulfuric acid, because the reaction is accelerated by acid catalyst. That's the reason why ferrous ion solution is also added with little amount, around 2 ml of sulfuric acid, so that reaction is facilitated and we will get EMF values. Each addition of 1 ml oxidizing agent from the burette, we have to measure its EMF values, and all the values get tabulated. After performing this titration, now we are going to do this what graphical representation. How can we represent all these values in the graph? We have to go with this. For that purpose, we are taking volume of potassium dichromate added in ml from the burette versus EMF values are taken. Now the graph is normal S shape. This is completely reversed to acid base titration. In case of acid base titration, we are getting the graph in reverse S shape. In redox titration, graph will be normal S. Okay. So initial EMF value is more. It is gradually decreasing. Sudden decrease in the EMF value will be observed at the completion of the reaction. This completion of the reaction is taken as the equivalent point or end point. If we know the end point, it is very simple to determine its concentration again by using same formula M1 V1 is equal to M2 V2. So again, one of the term that is potassium dichromate concentration is known. That's why it is a standard solution. So M2 is already known. M1, that is ferrous ion concentration, we have to determine. M1 is equal to M2 V2 by V1, so that it is possible to calculate the molarity of ferrous ion. If molarity is already known, then it is easily converted into weight. What is the formula of, what is the chemical formula of molarity? Molarity is equal to weight by gram molecular weight into 1000 by V. So when weight by gram molecular weight 1000 by V formula is molarity is equal to weight, molarity is equal to weight by gram molecular weight, weight by gram molecular weight to 1000 by V. So when we apply this formula in this, what in this weight we have to determine, because molarity term is already known. That's the reason why weight is equal to molarity into gram molecular weight into volume by 1000. That is the formula. When we apply that formula, what happens? So we will get exact weight of ferrous ion solution. In this way, estimation of ferrous ion solution is possible by using this redox potentiometric titration. What we are doing, simply burette filled with potassium dichromate solution. In the beaker, we are taking 20 ml of ferrous ion solution. Ferrous always unstable. It's a higher oxidation state in ferric ion. So that ferrous to ferrous by adding oxidation, that is potassium dichromate solution from the burette. In order to perform the reaction, small quantity of sulfuric acid is added to the beaker and titrated against 1 ml of potassium dichromate, and we have to measure its EMF value. So after the addition of 1 ml, we are measuring EMF, and so next time we have to repeat the same kind of titration for 15 to 20 times. Each time how the EMF value is varied, that we have to mention. After noting all the EMF values, all the values should be what plotted in the graph by taking EMF versus potassium dichromate. So in this point, yes, in this where the point of inflation is there, that is taken as the end point. From that end point, we can calculate molarity. If molarity term already known, it is possible to calculate weight. Weight is nothing but amount of ferrous ion present in this. If volume is equal to 100, if you substitute, you will get weight of ferrous present in 100 ml of solution. In this way, redox titration is performed. Next, we are going to discuss about precipitation titration. Precipitation titration is nothing but when precipitation titration is nothing but when titrant is added from the burette. So whatever solution is there in the beaker, that slowly converted into precipitate, so that the change in EMF value is possible in precipitation titration. Here, the simple example is Type of titration involves reaction between given analyte and the titrate wherein insoluble precipitate formation is possible. Endpoint of the titration is noted when the addition of solvent no longer forms a precipitate. Where the precipitation reaction gets completed, that is considered as the endpoint. Now, chloride should be filled with silver nitrate solution. We have to fill silver nitrate in the burette, and the conical flask we are taking sodium chloride. Sodium chloride is there in the conical beaker, and silver nitrate is filled in the burette. This is the titrant silver nitrate. When it is titrated against sodium chloride, this is converted into silver chloride and sodium nitrate. Silver chloride is a white color precipitate which is deposited at the bottom. Okay, so this is a simple representation of chemical reaction. When silver nitrate is added to sodium uh, chloride, what happens? It is converted into silver chloride precipitate and sodium nitrate solution. This is the chemical reaction involved in this precipitation titration, and this is the representation of that silver nitrate versus representation of silver nitrate versus brine solution. Sodium chloride is also called as brine solution. We are taking two electrodes. One is column electrode, second is silver electrode was taken. These two electrodes now connected to potentiometer, and we have to take the solutions in this, and both are separated by salt bridge. From the burette, we are adding silver nitrate solution. Here sodium chloride solution was taken. Here also sodium chloride solution was taken. And from the burette, we are adding silver nitrate solution. As silver nitrate is added, slowly silver chloride is converted into silver nitrate and sodium chloride is converted into sodium nitrate, and silver nitrate is converted into silver chloride. So same reaction is continued till the precipitation reaction is completed. Where reaction is completed is called end point. Okay, so after getting this titration, we have to repeat the titration again for 15 to 20 times. After getting this titration, we have to plot the graph where volume of silver nitrate taken on the x-axis and cell potential, nothing but EMF was taken on the y-axis. EMF versus volume of silver nitrate was titrated. Again, we are getting the shape of S. Acid-base titration, reverse S shape will be there. In case of redox titration, normal S shape will be there. Even in case of precipitation titration, we have normal S shape of the graph, where point of inflation, this point of inflation is taken as the end point. This is the equivalent point. So from this value, it is possible to determine the concentration of unknown solution. So this is about the precipitation titration. Advantages of potentiometric titrations. Why we have to perform this type instrumental method instead of normal volumetric titration? Because the main advantage is it requires less quantity of substances. We are not taking solution each time. Only 1 ml of titrant is required from the burette, and 20 ml initial solution we are taking. That is repeated for several times. That's why quantity of solution required is very less. That's why we can conserve the solutions. So the process becomes inexpensive. And the second is useful for the characterizing acids, especially acid concentration is very important in the chemical process. So accurate determination of concentration is very essential. So this is simply carried by this potentiometric titration. Even polyprotic acids, polyprotic in the sense more than one H plus releasing acids are there. For example, sulfuric acid. In that case, it is very difficult to determine its normality. So in that case also it is possible, it is efficient method for the determination by using this potentiometric titrations. It does not use indicator. If you are using indicator, so somebody will get the color change at very initial state, somebody will take very dark color as the end point. That's why it is not accurate in normal titration method. But in case of potentiometric titration, we are taking that endpoint value from the graph. That's why there is no chance of error. So suitable indicator selection is not required. In case of colored solutions, when colored solutions are there, so it's very difficult to identify where the color change is observed. That's the reason why normal titration is not preferred in that colored solution titrations, but it is very efficient with this potentiometry because even color change is there that is not affecting our EMF values. Then potential measurement is carried throughout the analysis process, and the endpoint attained by indicator is masked. So indicator endpoint is not required in case of in this. So for instance, analyte, even though it is fluorescent, turbid, or colored, whatever the condition of the analyte, we can identify accurate endpoint by using this normal titration, which is not possible by uh, normal titration method. It is very efficiently calculated by using potentiometry. If the material is fluorescent in the sense high, what fluorescent colors, we can see dark color are very what intense colors are there. Such kind of materials may not be determined by normal titration. Even any turbidity is present, it is not to identify exact color change, and another dark colored solutions can't be identified by using normal titration process. And it is useful process, and automated determination of endpoint is possible. That's why. So it is a highly accurate method. Disadvantages: we have very few disadvantages by using potentiometric titration. So accurate results are obtained, but instrument should be properly what calibration should be carried initially, and correct degree of de-acylation values. Many other factors also influencing this. Many other factors also influencing this. Getting EMF values by using this potentiometry to get correct values to get sorry to get corrective values, the instrument should be in the proper condition. So these are the few disadvantages, but apart from this, so this what potentiometric titrations are most useful for the measurement of endpoint value, so that concentration and estimation of given compounds are possible. Not only that, even pH measurement is also possible by taking either quinhydron electrode or glass electrode. Accurate pH determination is also possible. Now we are going to discuss about batteries. We will start battery.